Okay, so I'd like to welcome everybody today to the first session in 2024 for our Physician Scientist Career Development Series. I'm Margaret Barron. I'm a professor and Senior Associate Dean for Basic and Clinical Research Training and Director of the Office for Physician Scientist Research Training. Today's session will focus on how to approach working with a biostatistician for your research projects. I'm delighted to introduce our speaker, Dr. Emilia Bagiella, who is professor and director in the Center for Biostatistics in the Department of Population Health Science and Policy. She's co-director of the Institute for Transformative Clinical Trials, and she's vice chair for Education and Mentoring in the Department of Population Health Science and Policy. Dr. Bagiella directs and teaches courses in biostatistics at Mount Sinai, and she has a great deal of experience working with our trainees to help support their work, and I'm really looking forward to her presentation. As always, all of you will have the opportunity to ask questions of Dr. Bagiella, either by using the chat or by raising your hand after the presentation. So welcome, Dr. Bagiella, and thank you so much for agreeing to participate in our series today.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me. So I'm going to talk about a few things today. One is who we are, and the first thing probably is where you find us. And then I will be talking about how can we collaborate and what is in some way the way, the right way to collaborate with the statistician. So you find most of the biostatisticians at Mount Sinai in the Center for Biostatistics. And the center was created several years ago, about 10 years ago, to really foster the collaboration and the interaction between biostatisticians and investigators at Mount Sinai. Most of us work with translational investigators and clinical investigators, but we also work with basic science investigators. It is one of the mission of the Center for Biostatistics to train the next generation of researchers, and we tend to offer lectures in methodology, trial design, design of experiments, and data management sometimes. And part of our job is also to develop new methodology that can help to advance basic clinical and translational research. So these are the three main missions that the biostatistician in the Center for Biostatistics have. The Center for Biostatistics is home to 15 faculty in biostatistics. Some of them are in population health sciences, some of them are environmental medicine and public health, and some others are in other departments. We also have 13 master level statisticians, and they really are the workforce in the Center for Biostatistics. Those are the ones who usually do most of the statistical analysis in our collaboration. We also train biostatisticians, and we have 3 postdocs at the moment. We manage a small part of the REDCap applications at Mount Sinai, mostly applications of studies that we are affiliated with. And we have always, obviously, an administrative assistant that helps us with scheduling and everything else. The faculty in the Center for Biostatistics has expertise in a very broad range of areas. So we cover all phases of clinical trials, from the early phase trials through pragmatic trials, comparative effectiveness trials. We have expertise in cost and cost effectiveness analysis. We have epidemiologists in the Center for Biostatistics, and in particular, we have 2 epidemiologists who are interested in environmental epidemiology. We offer expertise in geospatial statistics, in statistical genetics. And then we have a group of biostatisticians who have expertise in computational biology, machine learning, and artificial intelligence. And finally, we have another group of statisticians who work on analysis of large data set, administrative data set, like, for example, the Medicare data set, the Spark data set, and this very large administrative data set. What can we offer you? Well, we can offer collaborative work, obviously, and that happens through our consultation service, the Biostatistic Core. I'm going to cover this in a little bit. We can offer our help with research grants. We can offer our help with manuscript submission, and obviously with educational initiatives. The Center for Biostatistics in particular has has implemented in the past few years a master's in biostatistics, and the master in biostatistics has a track that we call the applied statistic track that is designed for clinicians. So anyone who's interested in deepening their statistical knowledge, we have this clinical application track in our Masters of Biostatistics. So the Center for Biostatistics, just to give you a sense of where we are within Mount Sinai and how we collaborate with both Mount Sinai and outside Mount Sinai. We collaborate very much with the medical and the graduate school, and that is through mostly our educational and training programs. We offer statistical support to a lot of investigators here at Mount Sinai, and some of that support is offered through the CTSA, so the Clinical and Translational Research Center. We also offer data management through RECAP. And then we collaborate with departments, institutes, and centers in helping with solving statistical problems. So that's where we come in and we apply novel methodology, we develop methodology to solve particular problems. We have a very close link with outside agencies like the NIH, the NSF, the American Statistical Association, and the FDA, and we collaborate with a lot of people outside of Mount Sinai. So how do we offer our services? I would say that the easiest thing to collaborate with us is through a biostatistic core. A biostatistic core is a dedicated support to a particular investigator or a particular group of investigators within a department. So the way that it works is we work with the investigators, and either a master level statistician or a faculty or a combination of a master level statistician and the faculty work on a long-term collaboration with an investigator. So when the investigator needs statistical help, it works with the statisticians, whether it's a grant, a paper, an analysis for a data that they have collected, and other projects. We have several biostatistic cores that are up and running with different people in many departments in Mount Sinai. This is the most, I would say, the steadiest way to work with a statistician, because you will see the same statistician for the long term. That statistician get to learn the work that you do, the field in which you work, the problems that you might have, the type of trials, the type of study that you usually implement, and so is an easy collaboration in some way. The other way that we can offer our services is through the consultation services. So we have two different consultation services. One is StatChat, StatChat was a walk-in consultation service that was offered as an open door consultation, walk-in consultation service before COVID. After COVID, with the advent of Zoom, the service is now offered on Zoom and is offered every Monday from 2 to 3 p.m. We have 4 slots of consultations every Monday, and each slot is 15 minutes. So the master level statisticians run the StatChat consultation service. Given that this is a quick consultation service, we just answer very simple questions. And these questions might be covering study design, data management, data collection, data analysis. But the scope of the service is really to answer a couple of questions. So in 15 minutes, we cannot do very much. And it's like, calling in and asking, I have this particular data set, I have this particular variable. Do I use a t-test? Do I use a chi-square? How do I do the analysis? And we answer the question. It's not meant to do data analysis. It's not meant to help on grants. And it's not meant to really get involved with a long-term relationship with investigators. Most of the clients, I would say, on StatChat are residents, medical students, or very junior faculty who, find the StatChat friendly. Is a friendly environment. You work with very young people. You don't have a faculty that tells you you don't know the difference between a chi-square and a t-test. They, they're very gentle, very, very accommodating. But is a really quick way to have a question answered. The true consultation service, which is run through the CTSA, is called the BIRD Consultation Service, Biostatistics Epidemiology Research Design Service, is the place where to go if you have a big project in your hands. So you need to do a data analysis of a large data set. You need you have a grant application that is coming up, and you need to collaborate with the statistician for the statistical analysis, the sample size, the design of your study, and that is the time where you would come to this consultation service. The CTSA pays part of this consultation service, so usually we don't charge for the first hour and a half. We are fairly flexible here, but we need to we had to implement an hourly chargeback mechanism in order to sustain the service. And this service is run by faculty, so you will meet only faculty in these consultations. And you will have the expertise of the faculty to work with you for the project. Now, what is the difference between this and the course? The difference is that the consultation service is by consultation. So you call for a consultation and you are assigned to a faculty. If you call again for another project, you might be assigned to another faculty. So you won't work with the same faculty necessarily over time. And if you have several projects over time, you might work with 3, 4, or 5 different faculty. If you instead establish a core, then all those projects will be handled by the same faculty, and you will have this constant relationship with the statistician. So now that you know who we are, how we work, what is our mission, let's go through how we actually interact. So what we do and what we shouldn't do during for a statistical collaboration. So collaborating with a statistician shouldn't be a scary experience. It shouldn't be a nightmare. We're not going to test you on your statistical knowledge. Is really more a collaboration. We want to be your colleagues. We want to be working with you, understand what you're doing, and help you as much as possible to solve your problem, to get your paper through the reviewer's comments, to do help you with the data analysis, to help you with the design of your study and your grant, if you have a grant. And so how do we do a statistical consultation? So we want to think that we are colleagues and we work together to support you and to offer you the best methodology for obtaining, analyzing, and interpreting the data that you want to use to answer a research question. So we really want to be there for you. We really want to be next to you to help you with your research. What can we give you? What can we provide? What can we offer you? Study design. So any type of study design that you will need. We have a lot of investigators who come to us with a project and a study already designed, and many times talking together, we completely change the design. We maybe propose a design that is more efficient, or we propose a design that is less complex. We can help with sampling methods. Not all the sampling is the random sampling that you pull out of the population. We can help you with randomization, so we can help you with selecting particular populations. Obviously, we can help with statistical analysis and interpretation of the results of that analysis. And then again, we can offer some advice on data management and data quality, which is a very important aspect of research. So we go now into the do's and the don'ts of the statistical consultation. So when do you come to us? You should come to us before you start your study. And that will save time, and we save a lot of frustration on your side and on our side. It is not uncommon that we have a consultation and the investigator comes to us when they already have collected the data, they have designed the study, and now they are at the point where they need the data analysis. And it's not uncommon that we look at the data, we look at the way the data was collected, we look at the design of the study, and then we say, we cannot do that. This data, the way that is collected, and the data that is collected does not answer your question, cannot answer your question. So coming to us before you start collecting the data could be very beneficial, because we can give you advice on what data to collect and how to collect it and when to collect it, so that in the end, you can answer the research question. Keep in mind that when you collaborate with a statistician, the first thing that we do is to translate your research question into a statistical question. We translate your your main question into hypothesis that we can actually test with statistical methodology. And to do that, we need to have the right data. So the moment that we do this translation from the clinical question or the research question into the statistical question, that is the moment where we realize that you might not have the outcomes or the data that we need in order to test the particular hypothesis. So coming to us before the study starts is best. You might not know who R.A. Fisher was, but he was one of the probably founder of statistical methodology. And so this is one of the quotes that he used to write in his paper. To consult the statistician after the experiment is finished is often merely to ask him to conduct a post-mortem examination. He can perhaps say what the experiment died of. So, and that means that if you come to us too late, we cannot help you. And that's where many times the frustration comes about, because a lot of investigators come to us and say, well, but you should apply your methodology. The statistical analysis can solve the problem. And in reality, the statistical methodology is applied to data that is well collected, and is difficult to make right an experiment that was not designed properly. In general, there is no methodology that can fix a study that it was not designed properly or that was not conducted properly. We can try to adjust some things, but if there is bias in the data, if there are errors in the data, we cannot address that, and there is no methodology that can address that. So what you should ask us, you should come to us when you have an idea, and we can help you to translate this idea into a statistical hypothesis, because that is the way that we reason. We reason in terms of statistical hypothesis. And once we understand that, then we can help you to design the study, to collect the data, and eventually to analyze the data. You can ask us about the best design that can be applied to your project. There are several different designs that can be applied. Not all designs fit all the different projects and the different needs. And so we can help you, again, from the very, very beginning, from day one, to start with the right foot. And if you have a grant application, we can help you to not just design your project and design your study, but we can help you with the sample size calculation. We can help you with the statistical analysis plan, so that you don't get that, sometimes frustrating reviews, comments from the study section where, you need a statistician on board and your statistical analysis plan is not correct, or the statistical methodology that you're using is not applicable to the design that you have. So the message here really is, the sooner you come to us, the better it is. Well, you should not ask us. Well, don't come to our office with the flashcards and say, this is my data. I want you to take a look at it and tell me what to do. Many times we don't know what to do. And not because we're not experts in the field, is because we don't understand what the data is. So we need to have the background. We need to have information. Sending a data set by email and saying, can you do the analysis, is not helpful for us. We need really to know what is involved. We would like it to think about the conversations that we have as collaborative rather than executive. So I have received many times, we receive an abstract that is already done, and a data set that is attached to the abstract in an email with a request to fill in the blanks in the abstract and put the p-values in it. And that is not what we do. we can help you to write the abstract. We can help you with the analysis, and we can help you to put the p-values in there. But again, we need to understand what is behind the abstract, what is the study, and what we really need to do. The same applies for grants. I receive tons still of requests for a sample size calculation. And with a couple of lines in the email saying, I'm doing this and this and this, please send me the sample size calculation. How many patients do I need? There is no way that we can do that. We need to read your grant. We need to understand what you're doing. We need to know what is the design that you're using in your project in order for us to do a sample size calculation. We need a lot of data from you to do the sample size calculations. And we need to go back and forth several times, exchanging ideas before we can get to that final sample size that you're going to put in your grant. And again, and this goes back to calling us before the damage is done. If you are submitting an IRB application, all IRB applications now, if you're doing research, need a statistical section. And the IRB will send the protocol back to you if they don't find a statistical section. Don't wait until you have the IRB send you the protocol back. Come back to us before you submit the IRB, and we can help you to submit an application that most likely will not be returned because of the statistical analysis. When a consultation starts, the first meeting is the most important part of the consultation. And that is because not only we introduce each other, not only we start to know each other, but it's also we start understanding as statistician what we are dealing with, what you are doing. So you need to be patient with us because we have to learn what you're doing. You have to describe your project to us. Give us the background of the problem that you have. It's true that we will be working on the statistical analysis part, and many people say, well, what do you care about? What is the disease? Well, we do care. We need to know. If you have a research draft or a summary that you can send to us ahead of time, that would make things a lot easier, because we can read that and we can come prepared to the consultation. So we already have a little bit of a background. Some of the problems that you present to us might be very easy for you because you have the clinical background to understand what you're doing. But they might be very difficult for us to grasp because we don't have the same background. Although many of us now, having worked with clinicians for many, many years, pretty much have a sense of many of the area in which you work. But it is always very useful for us to see a diagram or a flow chart that describe what you're trying to do. If you have pilot data, we need to know about that. The pilot data is very, very informative for us for calculating sample size, for determining what type of variability you have in your data, for determining what type of variable you have in your data, and how we can approach the statistical analysis to the new data. And if you have data somewhere or databases that you rely on, we will be happy to see these data sets, again, to learn about the type of data, the nature of the data that you usually deal with, and how we can approach this data in the best possible way. It is also important that we are on very clear terms. So part of the consultation is also to discuss the terms of the agreement. If we work with you on a grant application, we will need to know what will be our role on the grant. Usually, we do not provide consultation for a grant if we're not included in the grant as a co-investigator. The work that we do helping you to design the study, do the sample size calculation, writing the statistical analysis is work that is unpaid to us in some way. So we get it back the time that you're funded, if you're funded. And we don't just work on a grant just to put in these elements and then disappear. So this, I would say these agreements need to be decided right away. What will be our role? What will be our percent effort? If we are working on the analysis for a manuscript, will we have authorship on that manuscript? It's very important to define and firm up a timetable. When do you need this? You have to be very clear with us of what is your deadline. You have an abstract. The deadline for the abstract is 3 weeks from now. We need to put this in the pipeline. We need to know how to prioritize all the different projects that we have and make sure that everybody is going to submit in time. If you have a grant application, we need to know which cycle you're applying to so that we can appropriately put our resources into your grant. Keeping in mind that this is not a process that begins and ends in one sitting. When we work on data analysis, when we work on grants, we go back and forth several times. It might need 5 or 6 different meetings before we get to really even start doing the data analysis. It's going to take several meetings if we are working with you on a grant. Going back and forth, we might calculate the sample size 2 or 3 times, depending on how the grant evolves. So you have to be patient and you have to understand that this is not going to happen in 1, 2, 3. And we need to set up the schedule of events. What is going to happen in the next 2 weeks? Who's doing what? What is the statistician responsible for? What does the statistician need in order for giving you an answer in the next 2 weeks? When we do the power calculations, for example, we need a lot of elements from the investigator. We don't know what the effect size are. We don't know what the variability in the data is. This is all information that we need from you. So we have expectations, and you have expectations, and those have to meet, and we have to understand who's responsible for what and what is the timeline of the deliverables. So how can you help us help you? We need a clinical background. We need to know where you're coming from, what you're doing, why you're doing this, what is the research that you're doing. We need to know what is the rationale for the research that you're doing. Are there preliminary data? Are there pilot data? Are there other studies that have been done in the same field or in the same population or with the same intervention? What are your clinical hypotheses? And that helps us to understand what are the statistical hypotheses so we can help you with the sample size and we can help you with the statistical section. What are the variables that you're going to use? We need to know what is the nature of those variables, when the variables are collected, who is collecting the variables, what is the population on which the variables are collected, and so on and so forth. Different study designs call for different methodology. One thing is that you do a study where you have variables that are collected only at one point in time. Another thing is that you have a study where the variables are collected longitudinally over a long or a short period of time. The methodology is different. Analyzing data that is collected at one point in time is different than analyzing data that is collected over time. We need to know what are your treatment effects, what you expect, whether you have an intervention, what are your selection criteria, and what parameters, what variables you want to estimate. So what are the most common mistakes that we make when we work with the statistician? And these are the mistakes that generate a lot of frustration. They generate, difficult relationships. They generate problems. One is not to describe the problem thoroughly. Again, the first consultation might not even go into what is the question that you have. We might spend an hour just talking about the background of what you're doing. Not recognizing that we need to guide you in the study design, that we are experts in that, and we can help you design the study in the best possible way. And not providing enough information for our power analysis. Again, we don't know what the elements are. We don't know what effect size could be reasonable. We don't know what failure rate you will be encountering. We don't know what is the variability in your data, but we need this information in order to do the sample size calculations for you. And it's really not the role of the statistician to go and look for this information. The investigator should be sufficiently knowledgeable about the problem to have this information at hand, or to search for this information. One thing that we are asked to do is to read the literature and figuring out on our own. So many times when we email the investigator and say, look, I need some sense of what is the variability in your outcome measure in order to do your power analysis, the response is an email with 10 papers attached to it saying, well, this is what was done before, figure it out. That is not my job. I can read the paper because I want to know more about what you're doing, but I cannot read 10 papers every time that I help somebody with a power calculation in order to figure out what is the variability in the data. This is your job. This is what you should know. And those papers are the ones that you should read before you come to us. Don't leave too little time before the deadlines. Don't come to us the day before the grant is due. Don't come to us the day before the abstract is due. Just as a rule of thumb, for an abstract, we need at least 3 to 4 weeks before the abstract in order to give you the analysis that you need to put into your abstract. And for a grant, 6 to 8 weeks before the grant is due is the minimum. If you come to us too late, we can try our best to help you, but number one, we cannot give you our best advice because we don't have sufficient time to read your grant, read your paper, or read your abstract. And number two, we might have other priorities and we might not be able to help you at all. So we really encourage you to come to us as soon as possible. And the other one is something that, especially in the past few years, has created some, I would say some attrition, is not honoring the financial agreements. So if you put us on the grant and the grants get funded, the worst thing that you can do is to call us and say, I got a cut, I don't need you anymore. Or to call us and say, you know what, there won't be any data analysis until year 4 of the grant. So I'm going to cut you out from the grant for year 1, 2, and 3, and then I'll call you back in year 4 for the data analysis. You might not find us on year 4 to begin with, but the other thing is that we really, I mean, as you do, we as well count on that collaboration. And so when you cut us out of the grant, then we have to find some other funding opportunities for us. And once we are at 100%, if you come back to us, we won't have the time to dedicate to you. So if we are on a grant, our percent effort might be low in the first few years, and increase at the time that we need to do the data analysis. But you have to keep us, you shouldn't cut us out completely. Another issue is that if you have a study, the statistician really doesn't disappear during the data collection. You might have problems. You might have reports to do. You might have to report to the FDA. You might have to report to the DSMB. You might have questions from the DSMB. You might have interim analysis in your study. So the statistician is somebody who should be with you from day 1 until the last day of your project. The other thing is the publications. A lot of time when we charge for a consultation, the answer is, oh, you know what, we're going to put you on the paper as author. Well, authorship does not pay the salary, and we cannot live out of authorship. So these terms of the agreement have to be extremely clear from day 1. Understanding that, again, we are there to work with you, and we have all the interest, and we have we are there really to help you as much as we can as colleagues. So just to conclude this, how can you reach us? If you are looking for a consultation, then we have a recap form that you can submit in order to reach us. We respond right away, and typically takes about a week to schedule a first consultation, so take that into account. And it might take 2 weeks if we have a high volume. So what it means high volume? It means that there is either a grant deadline, so around the 3 big grant deadline, February 5th and June 5th and October 5th, try to come to us a little bit ahead of time, because that is the time of the year that we have the most to do, because we're working on helping people with grants. So if you have a data analysis, for example, to do, you might be pushed by 3 or 4 weeks until we unload of the grant work that we're doing. Again, allowed about 4 weeks for very short statistical analysis, an abstract or other things like that, and allow 6 to 8 weeks for grant or manuscript preparation. Understanding that, again, during this time, there might be a back and forth, a number of meetings that need to be scheduled, and that we need to be in contact with you and work with you throughout the preparation of the grant. The other way to reach us is through, obviously, chat, and this is a lot easier. Because you just fill out one of our StatChat request form. And usually, if you fill it out by Friday, you can be scheduled by the following Monday. So usually we are able to schedule a consultation on StatChat in very, very quickly. And then you will receive right away a message that will tell you when your short consultation is going to be scheduled, and when and how to get on the Zoom.
So thank you very much, Dr. Bagiella. Are there any questions?
And remember, you can unmute yourselves or drop it in the chat.
Do we have any questions in the chat?
I don't think so.
I don't see any questions yet.
So we can send around your presentation so that people have at least the links that you have in the presentation, and they can refer back when they have questions. Oh, I see a question in the chat. Tarek, do you want to read that?
Would you recommend we look at online statistical resources? Oops, let me see if I can read it. Would you recommend we look online for statistical resources prior to reaching out to you? You don't need to. You don't need to. So the consultation is going to be easier if you, for example, if you have a background where you have taken a statistical course before, or you have, some knowledge of data analysis or study design. Then the conversation is going to be much, much easier, because we can kind of speak the same language. So we can talk about and say, in this particular study, we're going to do a mixed effect model, and you have a sense of what we're doing, rather than, us really explaining to you what we're going to do. So it's going to be easier for you and for us. But otherwise, no, you don't need to be, you need to be prepared to the consultation in terms of what you really expect from the consultation and what you need to ask us during the consultation. But otherwise, you don't need to search any material unless you want to.
I did get another question directly sent to me. It's from Raul. It says, "Hi, thank you. What is the range for the consultation?" I'm not sure what they meant by range.
Yeah, I'm not sure. The range in time?
Oh, price range.
So the price is has been calculated by some office in Mount Sinai, and is $125 an hour. StatChat is completely free. And for the biostatistic core, we just evaluate what the needs of the investigators are in terms of FTEs, and then the investigators just provide that salary support for the faculty or the master level statisticians that are working with them.
I think some of a lot of our participants may not know what an FTE is.
An FTE is, a percent effort that you require from the statistician. So if you have a lot of, for example, with the Department of OBGYN, we have a 1.5 FTEs, meaning that we dedicate one full-time master level statistician and a half-time of a senior master level statistician. And that is because they have a lot of residents and a lot of projects. And so they need a continuous support, statistical support. And, we started with half master level statistician, and over time, we had to increase that to 1.5. So they supported the salary of one master level statistician and half the salary of a senior statistician.
Another way to think about it is that 10% effort is half a day a week.
Yeah.
On the average.
Yeah.
So that makes an easier way for people to think about it.
Right. So how you schedule a meeting with StatChat? The way to do it is really, I can send you, Margaret, the links for both the BIRD consultation service is the one that is partially supported by the CTSA, and StatChat. So StatChat is I would say is the one that is more accessible to everybody. But again, keep in mind that is a quick service. So you have a question, we answer the question. But if you need more, they usually send you to the consultation service, to the BIRD consultation service.
Are there any other questions in the chat? No, nothing? Okay, well, thank you again, Dr. Bagiella, and thanks to all of you who participated in today's session. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Good evening.
And, send me an email if you have more questions. Just reach out to me. I will be very happy to meet with you and to answer any questions.